Well, good morning and welcome to Dublin, where it's grey and windy and it's just stopped raining. And the PMI Europe, Middle East and Africa Global Congress kicks off this morning. Yesterday for the Leadership Institute meeting it was much nicer weather here in Dublin, but today it's a bit miserable, but fortunately we will be inside at the convention centre for most of the day. So this morning I am attending a session about selling your services and making sure that key stakeholders understand the value of what you offer the project, so that should be quite interesting. Kevin Ayres from LinkedIn, or the ex-MD from LinkedIn Europe, is speaking just after lunch as a keynote presentation about the uses of social media, so that should be great. And then the exhibition hall opens about 5:30 this afternoon, so I'll have a chance to look round all of the stands and to see if I recognise anybody from previous congresses. This is the first time I've attended PMI's European Global Congress, but from what I've seen so far this morning, it looks very similar in setup. Slightly fewer people here than you would expect at a North America Congress, but the schedule of events looks great, and I'm sure there'll be some really interesting presentations for me to tell you about over the next 3 days. Well, I've just come out of my morning session, my first session of the day, which was a very long one actually. It was case study based, and we were looking at selling and how selling is related to project management. So basically stakeholder engagement through using a sales process to understand what the prospect wants, the prospect being the project sponsor or the stakeholder involved, how to engage them, then to present the proposition, then to gain agreement to the proposition, and then that's pretty much it. Sales process is closed. So given that that was case study based, we had a general presentation from the presenter first, and then we broke into tables of 10 people, 15 tables in the room, big room, and then we looked at and discussed the case study and presented back our findings. So that was an alternative to the traditional lecture format that many of the presentations are in throughout the convention. This is where we will be listening to Kevin Ayres, who's the former Managing Director of LinkedIn Europe. We can't go into the auditorium at the moment, it's through there, but as you can see they're setting up for lunch. This is on the 3rd floor of the conference centre in Dublin, and we weren't allowed up here yesterday. There weren't enough of us, I suppose, and we didn't need the auditorium for anything. But from here, from the front of the building out through the massive glass windows, we've got a really great view of into the city of Dublin and the skyline. I've just tried to get into the auditorium to show you the scale of the room, but I think they are practicing going through a sort of lighting and technical rehearsal in there at the moment, so I don't think they'd appreciate me going in and videoing. Well, I've just come out of 2 of the afternoon sessions. I saw Kevin Ayres, the ex-MD of LinkedIn, talk about social media and building a competitive advantage for yourself and for your company, which was really interesting, and I got some notes about that. But I've just come from a presentation around project managers in the boardroom and the role of Chief Project Officer. And I have to say, that was probably much more thought-provoking, and it's made me forget a lot of what Kevin was talking about, because there were so many things I disagreed with, or rather I need more time to reflect to know what I think my position will be. But there were lots of questions unanswered around: should CPOs look after capability, look after portfolio management? What's the difference between portfolio management and a Chief Project Officer role? The projects don't deliver benefits unless they are part of a programme, was one of the statements that was made, which I think is a very traditional way of looking at what projects can do, and it doesn't reflect the fact that projects outside of a programme management framework should be able to deliver value. And I think that is really where we are shifting towards, or where project management should be moving towards. If they're not doing it now, it's because the traditional view is that projects deliver outputs. So that I disagreed with. It was very, very interesting, and it just made me think I need to take these notes and go away and reflect a bit more on the topics that were raised. But I don't have time to do that now because we have 5 more minutes. I need to get a cup of tea, and then I'm off to another session which is around creating executive buy-in to your projects. Well, I've been to my last session of the day, which was a really interesting presentation from a speaker who gave us a model to assess how best we as project managers can help project executives be better at their jobs as sponsors and senior stakeholders, so that we can be more successful in delivering a great outcome for the project. And that was based on assessing executive ability against their attitude, and one of those 4-quadrant square models. And depending on where the project executive fits on the square, there are certain different actions that you as a project manager can do to help the project executive be successful. So I expect I'll write that up as an article, because there was lots of good stuff in there that is worth sharing. So what's happening now is, if I take the camera and show you in here, we have the exhibition hall.